Felix, the other time you mentioned we can hit 1 million in our CPF during retirement years. Sure or not?
Yes, today I'll answer all your questions.
Hello Theologians, welcome to my channel for another insightful episode. This is Pauline, the Lao Chio, and today we are going to have Felix back again to share more about CPF, specifically to address your concerns and comments that you have listed in our previous episode. So if you want to find out more about CPF regarding retirement scheme, just click over here to find out more. Now, let's dive into the very first question. Felix, hello!
Hi.
Thank you for coming back again. We are having the very first question by this person that asked, I'm planning to get my own 2-room BTO, but concerned that I won't be able to hit the FRS, which is the full retirement sum, by 55 years old. As a lower mid-income person, this is always worrying. So it looks like they have to delay their retirement. What's your comment on this?
Okay, now first and foremost, I've had the privilege of having done a lot of CPF projections for many of the clients that I serve, my friends and so on, right? So long as if one is in the middle income age group today and been in active employment throughout the 20s to 50s with very minimal interruption along the way, right? This is, in my opinion, the median income group. Now, even if we were to exhaust all our CPF-OA to fund for our housing, the CPF-SA alone, which is the special account, should be able to meet and more than fulfill the prevailing full retirement sum when we turn 55.
Wow.
I've seen very, very few cases that we don't. Of course, there will always be exceptions, like for example, if this person has taken a prolonged period, maybe out of the workforce, for example, as a homemaker or maybe as a self-employed. And the reality is that when we go into self-employment path, we may not have what we call regular CPF contributions. So if there are periods of interruption like that, yes, it may be a possibility that we don't hit it. But otherwise, if we are generally in active employment, we should be able to hit it, given that CPF, in my opinion, serves the masses, right? And for a long time, since like over 30 years ago when I started working part-time, playing marbles and catching, right? The CPF contribution salary ceiling has all along been nothing more than $6,000, right? So which means when we earn more than $6,000 a month, it doesn't make a profound difference to a contribution between somebody earning 6 or somebody earning 10, right? So therefore, most people would be able to fulfill the full retirement sum just solely through the special account.
So in short, if you have been fully employed, even probably at, you mentioned mid-lower tier income, and you use your full CPF to pay for the house, most likely you should be able to hit that FRS. And also not forgetting 55 years old all the way to 60 plus, you are still earning the interest, and the compound return over those years can be quite significant as well. Yes.
So for instance, just to add, although everyone's situation differs, we all have unique circumstances, and at different points of our life, we are at different what we call pay range. So if I would recall, when I look at one case study that I did just late last year, right? This lady, this member, she was like in the mid-40s, right? Mid-40s, and employed, and I recall the balance in the ordinary account was something like about $50,000, and special account was just over 100, and the income, right, was just around like maybe about 6 a month. A mother paying a mortgage of like $700 a month, right? So it's like with 10 years, right, with just about 10, 11 years to turning 55, this person was concerned about meeting the full retirement sum. Okay, so when I did a projection with this person, and in just about 10 years, the special account balances jumped, right, to more than the full retirement sum that is potentially applicable to this person when she turns 55, right? So if we think about it, if we study the allocation rates for the CPF, right, you will see that it is very principled in the sense that when we are below 35 years old, out of our total contribution of 37%, right, 23% of the 37 goes to the ordinary account. We call that the allocation rate. Progressively, as we enter the age bands of 35 to 45, the amount that's allocated to the ordinary account drops to 21%. And then, of course, the difference is channeled to the Medisave and special. Then again, as we move past 45 to 55, what's to the ordinary account drops from 21 to 19.
Wow.
And again, the difference is channeled to the special Medisave. And subsequently, when we cross 50, okay, then you find that the ordinary account allocation drops to 15%. And from that point, we get a very strong boost to our special account because as we progress, as we age, more and more money is actually allocated to the special account, and that will give us the relevant boost.
Yeah.
So personally, I will always encourage most of my friends, clients, if they can, if they really want to use their CPF-OA to service the mortgage, right, it's good to get it over and done with by 50. Okay. But that's just a personal thought. But of course, as said, everyone has different strategies, right?
Yeah. We always have to understand there is no one size fits all. Yeah, so it all depends on individual, whether you have dependents, no dependents, and your salary range and your lifestyle. So everything takes into consideration in your retirement planning. So thank you, Felix, for this very first question. Let's go to the next one. So if we manage, we are high earning, that's another question. Probably he or she is a high earning income earner. And if we hit our full retirement sum, FRS, at the early stage of our career, we won't be able to top up at a later stage when our salary can be potentially higher. So would there be any concerns? And also, if they cannot top it up to an SA because it has hit the ceiling, what is going to happen to the rest of the money? Where does it go to?
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, first and foremost, to address specifically this question about if I hit my FRS early, I will not be able to top up through the RSTU, Retirement Sum Top-Up Scheme. Right? Yes, if let's say I were to hit it early, before 55, and my special account balance is already over the full retirement sum, the prevailing full retirement sum. Of course, we can't top up to the special account anymore, given that we are already there. Yeah. So, and obviously, among some benefits of our CPF contribution, right, for that matter, even topping up, is that we do enjoy tax reliefs for up to $8,000 a year for RSTU, Retirement Sum Top-Up Scheme. Now, obviously, the benefit of fulfilling that retirement sum top-up scheme, hitting the full retirement sum earlier in life, is that we enjoy the benefit of a larger capital, okay, compounding at 4%, and that makes a world of difference, right? However, of course, as we hit it early, we will then be unable to make a full retirement sum top-up. But then again, because we have a bigger base, right, you'll find that if, let's say, I have 100,000 in my special account earlier in life, just at a 4% interest rate alone, it creates another $4,000, right? Without me having to do anything about it, which means it compounds and grows even faster, so that at 55, I would have potentially way much more than the full retirement sum that will be applicable to me at that point of time. As a matter of fact, I do observe among the crowd that I serve, some have gotten so proactive, even the young working adults fresh out of school, after working for a while, they voluntarily do top-ups to their full retirement sum to their special account very early in life. Because after all, if you look at today's special account interest is currently at 4.08. And as it is, as a risk-free tool, right, generally you don't have anything that comes close to it. Okay? And therefore, by the time we start actively doing so, maybe we are pushing 30, okay, and we are talking about a good 25 years of compounding. And when we really, if you use the Excel spreadsheet to do calculation, right, or the financial calculator to count, it does add up to a very, very tidy sum.
Yes,
right?
It does.
Yes.
And 4%, which is kind of quite guaranteed in a sense, because it has not changed over the past 20, 30 years, I think. Yeah, for this 4%. And if you look at the interest rate, that if you put in fixed D, the same amount of money, we won't be having that 4% most of the time. Right? Yeah, unless you have special arrangement, you know how to invest. I mean, that's a different issue, skill set altogether. So it is really one of the simplest way to compound our money over the years to prepare for our retirement. Now, let's move on to the next question. So the next question, someone actually asked, because in the previous episode, we talked about hitting $1 million. Yeah, I think a lot of people suddenly have that, wow, in my lifetime, I really can be a millionaire in CPF. So let's say we have a case study, all right, that I earn $5,000 a month for my whole life. And let's say even adding the 13-month bonus, do you think I will be able to hit the $1 million by the time I retire, say like 60 years old, okay, if I don't purchase an HDB flat? like what you mentioned the other time, that we use cash to finance our HDB and we leave everything in the CPF. So maybe you want to share with us more about case studies and the calculations of it. Yeah.
Okay, so for example, borrowing the earlier case study that I shared, right, about this person who had about 50-odd thousand, who was in the 40s, all right, mid-40s, and about just over 100 in the SA, all right, CPF-SA. No issue at all, hitting the full, in fact, hitting in excess of the full retirement sum. In fact, the SA alone could have met the enhanced retirement sum as well. But if assuming this person did not use the CPF-OA to service the home mortgage, and the OA balance would actually have been close to 300,000. Okay, and then of course there wouldn't be a monthly installment on the mortgage. In that particular case study, when we did we updated the projection, right? Actually, when the person turned 55, the OA, SA, and MA alone combined would have would be in the region of $1 million, just over $1 million, right? So we are talking about somebody who's not earning a lot of money, earning a lot of income on a high pay grade, somebody who's pretty much what we call a PMET, right? Professional managers, right?
Executives,
and so
pensions,
on, right?
yeah.
So therefore, it is, and remembering that for many, many years, CPF contribution ceiling was 6,000, all right, till last year where it started to go up. It's serving the masses, and therefore, from what I noticed, most people wouldn't have an issue.
So how about one person with a pay of like 5K? Yes, maybe you can share with us by the time 55 or 60 years old, which is maybe that rough gauge that the person can hit that 1 million.
Right. So usually, if let's say this person is doing about 5, right, this person would probably meet it like somewhere between 5, maybe not 55, probably towards 60. Yeah, that's what I noticed so far.
So just now you mentioned one case study regarding this lady, yeah, who is one of our clients. How about the next one to share with us more about different scenarios?
So for example, right, so on the subject of 1M at 6'5" or maybe 1M55, right? So for just maybe about last week or so, I think there was an article in the press that mentioned about the starting pay of fresh poly graduates today, all right, which is like just under $3,000 a month for fresh poly grad. So therefore, I did a simulation, I did a projection of say somebody who's about 22, maybe a poly grad. I'm just borrowing reference from the article. All right, with a starting pay of say about $293,000 a month, just 1 month bonus. All right, and from that point, work all the way for the next maybe till 55, annual increment 3%, no promotion, but likely lah, quite likely, okay. And even then, all right, and of course, again on the same premise that you don't use your OA to purchase a property, right? So 22-year-old, 3,000 a month's bonus. Flat 3% increment. Even then, when they hit 55, there would still be $1 million in the OA, SA, and MA combined.
Oh,
right. And we know that the reality it is an assumption that is ultra conservative, right? Ultra conservative because it's quite unlikely that the majority will be in a row. Take $3,000, take a 3% increment, okay, for the next
20, 30 years.
30 odd years,
Yes.
right? Because along the way we'll have promotions, and then it's also very unlikely that bonus just kept at a month.
Yeah.
Right. So therefore, even in that simulation, right, which I'm more than happy to share, it crosses $1 million.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
It crosses $1 million.
Of course, as I mentioned, you might say that this is in theory. Yeah, but you see, at least we know in theory it does work in the calculation. So you know it is possible, and when it actually did hit that million, it's because it's a choice of wanting to use this money, let's say OA, to finance the housing. Let's say for whatever reason you choose to be self-employed and not contributing to the CPF, or there's a period of time you choose not to work, going for long vacations, sabbatical leave, etc. So yes, there are situations that we can see that this is just theory, but also we just say this is the mean. Okay, there will be people of a high income as well. Just now we mentioned a poly graduate, let's say $3,000. There are also fresh grads and probably those who are in their own business that earn probably 5 digits a month. So this is where you can see that it is possible to actually hit that 1 million in calculation. So next question would be, if I use all my money to top up and I urgently need it, is this really going to be the end of, because you mentioned that, well, it's good to top up the SA with a 4%, but are there considerations that we need to think a bit long term in case we need to use, let's say, for some emergency funds? Okay. Yeah, so how do we plan for that?
Right. Okay, so first and foremost on that question, in every question we need to have a context, right?
Yes.
What is a person's age? Okay, it's relevant. How many years are we to 55? It is also relevant. plus a host of other factors like how much spare cash do we have that's sitting around that's important, right? And of course, also how likely within maybe the short-term horizon do I expect some financial obligations to take place, right? So for example, as we know, just like maybe offline, online, some people like to say that it's always good to have like what we call a rule of thumb, 6 months of expenses sitting in a bank, okay? So that in case there's an income disruption, we are ready. And as far as I'm concerned, I don't really think that there's such a thing called rule of thumb because everyone's situation is different, right? Sometimes I talk to A, quietly in their heart, they know that they are overworked, underpaid. Okay, but yet at the same time, because of their circumstance, if they were to maybe seek out another role, it will take a longer time, all right? Because different skill sets, different demand, right? But there are also some deep in their heart, they know that they are overpaid and underworked, right? If things really do happen, all right, their next position sure will have pay cut, right? But there are also those who know that their skill set currently is in demand. So it's like if they really walk out today, they will have another new role tomorrow, right? So all our circumstances actually differ. So based on my individual assessment of my risk and my obligation, some will probably feel more at ease if they see at least a year's of expenses parked in a risk-free instrument, all right, always in sight, all right, because all of us, our sense of security differs, all right. Some like to see, some see a bit only, they can do a holiday, okay, and say take a break, decide what to do next. Some, if they see that kind of money, they say cannot, I don't have luxury, must quickly send out resume. So I think as a rough guide, if I feel that I am looking at a comfortable sum to be ready for contingency in case of an income disruption, and then of course the next step will be for beyond the short-term contingency, whether it's 3 months, 6 months, 1 year worth of emergency funds, right? Then for the money that is in excess of that, do I invest it for potential upside? It could be investing in equities or some instruments that I'm comfortable with, or would I want to just top it up to meet my, to hasten, to speed up meeting the full retirement sum? Because after all, it could be a 4% compounding in the next 10, 20 years. It could be, by now I'm 50, it could be compounding in the next 5 years, right? So whichever the case is, whether it's compounding over 10, 15 years or maybe 5 years, the yield is actually the same, right? Because it's a flat interest. So sometimes if maybe I happen to have a prolonged break in my active career, and maybe by the time I return to the workforce, I'm, let's say, in the late 40s, and I really want to catch up on the full retirement sum, I may find topping up to FRS very appealing because it's a short-term commitment, right, till I hit 55, and yet at the same time I get a good interest rate, right? So it really differs, and what is important is to know the options on the table, the long and short, the pros and cons, before deciding what we want to.
Yeah, just like you mentioned regarding investing, using CPF to invest. So let's look at investment. So if you use the CPF investment account, CPFIS, to invest, so I understand there are costs in it, and it's probably recurring as well. So my question to you would be, is it worth it?
Okay. Now, first and foremost, if we use, for example, when it comes to participating in a CPF investment scheme, right? There are two routes. One is we participate through the CPF ordinary account investment scheme, where we go through an agent bank. Okay, and when we do that, depending on the type of investment that we buy, it could be equities, it can be funds, right? So they may attract different what we call transaction charges that is charged by the agent bank. Okay, so it's like maybe a per transaction couple of dollars. Okay, regardless of the amount invested. Then, of course, after the amount is invested, it could also attract a service charge on like a quarterly basis. Also like maybe a couple of dollars a quarter, right? That is if we do it through the CPF investment scheme ordinary account. Of course, if you do it through the CPF investment scheme special account, there isn't such charges because there's no agent bank involved. It is invested directly from a special account.
I see.
Okay? And for special account, because primarily you can only invest into what we call professionally managed funds, okay, such as investment-linked policies or unit trusts, for example. You can buy stocks directly. So therefore, and also what is important is that the highest risk investment risk class that we can go into is the medium to high risk. So in my own words, it's like level 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? If 4 is equity, 3 will be medium to high risk.
I see.
So to me, that cost, in my opinion, is actually secondary, because what is important really is our cost of funds. Right? Because when we take the money out from CPF-SA, for every day, for every year that's sitting out of CPF-SA, we lose at this point of time 4.08% interest. All right, 4.08% interest. And we ask ourselves for what I'm actually putting in, for the risk that I'm taking, does it have a track record of delivering in excess of 4.08%? Right? And of course, what happens that for each year it does not, even if it does not, for each year that it doesn't deliver. For example, if maybe 1 year later it lost 4%, all right, lost 4%, right? Then you'll find that I would have had a capital loss of 4 and a loss and opportunity of 4, I'm actually behind by 8. So then the key is, in the following year, in the next few years, you will need to run at a higher rate in order to make up for what I call the cost of funds. So when it comes to selecting an investment through the CPF Investment Scheme, it is important to make careful choices and to evaluate if it is well worth the risk in doing so.
So always remember, although there's this saying, high risks, high returns, but I would always say, in order for you to lower down your risks in your investment decision, make sure you have the right knowledge and you know what you are investing in, and also be able to compare. Like for example, OA, are you able over the years be confident to make more than that 2.5%? And for SA, are you confident if you were to invest in that particular instrument, be able to get a return of more than 4% on a yearly basis in the long run? I think that's the consideration that we have to remember in terms of the cost of funds. So it's very important, always remember to plan well, to have that knowledge, and this is the reason why we have this channel for you to understand more about how you can plan for your retirement. So as always, if you find this content helpful, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button on my channel. And remember, it's all about taking care of your body, mind, heart, wallet for a happier and healthier you.